Hey everyone, welcome to Upstory Unfiltered. This is where product designers react to the unique apps that we come across on a daily basis and hopefully give some insightful feedback. We are a small product design firm. Again, we're called Upstory, and we make design products fun. And so often we find ourselves in this position where we're kind of in this unique spot as a third party to fight for the strategies that internal teams sometimes they just can't fight for on their own. But yeah, I'm Rick. I am the founder of Upstory. Started Upstory a few years ago. We've been working on products from really small all the way up to really big products. Let me introduce the rest of my team. This is Daniel.
Hey, I'm Daniel. I've working on startups for a really long time. Been designing for about 10 years, senior designer here at Upstory.
Awesome. And then we have Nash.
Nash here. Hey guys, I am a growth consultant and I've worked with small companies and slightly larger companies, and I am happy to be here as always.
Sweet. Okay. Well, gentlemen, I just got back from Kansas City for a business meeting that I just had, so I'm a little bit tired. I got back about an hour ago, and I'm like, maybe not fully on, but we're gonna try and make this happen. So, with that said, what do we have for today?
Today we have Daniel. You want to take it?
I was going to say we have Relay app. Nash and Rick, we've been talking with the CEO. We're going to go through, give our honest thoughts, opinions, go through it ourselves, and try to give y'all some solid feedback that you can take to the team. Some insights, maybe not from normal users, but also not only users, but also product-minded folks. So just a fresh pair of eyes on your product.
Awesome. So yeah, right away, I had a chance just to look at the website. That's all I've really looked at, but it seems pretty clear that they're going up against the Zapier and Make.com type of apps. So for us, I think that's probably going to be the place that we're going to start as to how do they compare to a Zapier? How do they compare to Make.com? Maybe that's a little bit more secondary. I'm sure Zapier probably has like 80% of the market share. Maybe Make.com has 10, and the rest of the players probably have the remaining 10. That's just my guess. But yeah, I'm curious to know what Relay does. So right away, I'm gonna look at the site real quick and just see. Okay, first of all, they're trying really hard to focus on their free plan. You know, you can see it in that comparison. Hey, look at all the things that we do that you can't do on Zapier. Zapier, I've heard it both ways. But Relay,
Zapier.
yeah, at least Relay, you know how to pronounce it. So you got that going for you. Yeah, with that said, looks like there's a lot you can do in the free plan, which is kind of an interesting thing. I have run into the same issue. I've used Zapier for years and years. I've used Make a little bit. I actually just downgraded our Pro plan for Zapier because I just wasn't using it enough. I'm curious now as I look at this. I'm gonna go ahead and just go into the onboarding using the try for free and just see what we experience here. So welcome to Relay. Automate more than ever with AI assistance, human in the loop collaboration, and a multiplayer experience. Okay. Sign in with Google. Do Upstory. Continue. All right, so right away they're trying to get some demographics. Word of mouth. What apps?
Quick question, guys. Quick
Yeah.
question. Why has I think I know the reason for this, but why has everything shifted to Google Sign In? I know it's easier, but is there any part of that so that you can't like share accounts?
There are a number of different reasons. One of them is a really simple technical reason, which is it's really easy to implement a Google sign-in. But another reason is it's a lower barrier to entry for a lot of people, where it's like, I just don't want to create another password, create another account for something else. And so I think it's useful. I think it's useful for people to see that and go, okay, yeah, I'm willing to use my Google or my Apple or whatever for that. What do you think, Daniel?
I think everything you said. I think everything you said for sure. I don't know. I'm like trying to look it up right now. I'm probably totally off on this, but I think single sign-on also helps with SOC 2, like security compliance.
Mm-hmm.
I totally might be pulling that out of my butt, but
No,
I do.
I think you're right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it is required for that. So I think it's a little bit more secure actually.
Side tangent. Thanks, guys.
First playbook. No, that's all right. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to create my first one. By the way, the first thing I'm noticing right away is that it kind of dropped me in here without giving me any instruction. It just kind of
Yeah,
like,
he's building
here
right
you
now.
are. And I wish it would have kind of guided me through it. One of the things that I feel like is a big key to adoption is understanding those first interactions. And it felt to me like if I, first of all, they might have looked at their potential client base and said everyone's coming from Zapier or some alternative, and so they just already know what to do. But they're using the term playbook as an example, and that's an uncommon term, and they never explained that. They never explained that a playbook is a Zap, or you know what I mean. And so to
Yeah.
me, I feel like there's a little bit of education that needed to happen that didn't happen yet. So I'm curious if it's going to happen as I get going, but I'm going to try. So let me just try doing something simple. Let's see here, Google Sheets.
Yeah, it would be kind of cool if it was like if you can figure out like an extremely common use case that um, automation can clear up, and then walk the user through setting that up with the playbook or setting up a playbook to handle that typical automation. I
Yeah,
think that would be good to get um, used to using Relay.
yeah, and I think I think a lot of companies get focused on the product and like building a robust product, which I think makes a ton of sense. But sometimes they forget about making a really good onboarding experience. And in my mind, the most important experience that you can build at the start of a product is that onboarding experience because that's
Yeah,
where
that
people are going to decide.
yeah that and also kind of gives the user like more weight isn't the right word, but basically you're adding more effort into Relay. So now if you end up completing this first like trigger or your first playbook and you have it in there, training I feel like would be kind of won't be harder, but it'll be like less likely to train because you have like an automation in there already. It's kind of
Yeah.
somewhat useful. You might want to use it for like a couple weeks longer just to see like how it works out with the rest of your workflow. And if you experience it, maybe it was super easy, like way easier than Zapier or something, and then you enjoyed at work and you enjoyed these little like interactions with models coming up, like even this little toast at the bottom. Like maybe you just enjoy how it feels more than you do Zapier. You can only get that if you actually run them through. Um,
Yeah. Especially if
you know,
someone comes on and they don't have anything in particular. Like me right now is a great example. I don't have anything in particular that I want to run. And so I'm struggling to figure out what I should do. And by the way, I don't know if
yeah,
you noticed, I had this SavvyCal. I tried to add SavvyCal, and they did something smart here. They don't have SavvyCal yet,
uh,
and so they did this request and integration, and then describe your workflow. I think that's a great step.
yeah,
So let's try something obvious here. Email sent. All right, we're going to connect to my Gmail. Okay, so trigger when an email is sent if subject matches relay test. Okay, they're looking for emails, so they didn't find any records. And they have this refresh button, which I mean, this is very similar to what I'm seeing within with Zapier and with Make.
mm-hmm.
So let me go to then. I'm going to pause the video for a second. I'm going to go to my Gmail, and then I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to create a subject with relay test. But I'm going to pause the video for a second. All right, we're back. And now I have created that email. I'm going to refresh this. Uh-oh.
Oh, maybe I need to send you one.
It said when I send an email. Email sent.
You send? Oh.
Okay. That's okay. It didn't catch it now, but I'm just going to see what happens. I'm guessing it just kind of is taking a second. They probably have a cron job or something setting up. So let's see here. If that's the case... See, now I'm getting stuck here because I have this add step. But I'm not sure if this is a trigger or if this is a result. Manual step, data input, wait for time. This looks like it's still a trigger. So now I'm not sure what to do. Okay, so I have add trigger, add automations, show me where. This is a little confusing to me. And if you're going to compete with a Zapier, let me log into my Zapier real quick. Continue with Google, by the way.
Yeah, so, you gotta be on your game to compete with Zapier, I imagine.
Yes, and to be fair, Zapier's got some odd stuff too, but it makes it a little bit, in my mind, a little bit more clear what the trigger is, what the filters are, and what the resulting action is. And in here, I kind of got stuck. Like I don't know what to do now. And I see I can click this show me where, but it's not, that's kind of, I see this as like a map. I don't see it as in the action zone. Like the action zone to me is over here. So I'm going to go ahead and hit show me where. Okay, so it is right there, but I'm now even more confused. Is this a All right, let's try something else. Okay, so now I'm going to say, okay, if I sent an email, we're going to add a row to a document. Okay, so let's go sheets. Add row to sheet. Connect. So I guess what they're doing is they're not separating out they're not separating out the actions and the filters and the triggers. They're kind of all in one, which is kind of interesting. So maybe it's just me being dumb, honestly. Like I said, I'm a little tired from travel here, but let me do this. I'm going to pause. I'm going to go create a sheet so that I can pull it up here. So give me a second. All right, and we're back. And now I'm going to go here. I'm going to try and find this relay test. Oops. Oh man. This ain't great so far. It's just struggling to get the docs fast enough.
Yeah, I wonder why.
Yeah, let's see if it found this one yet.
Wait, so I'm still
refresh.
Still kind of confused on what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're creating a trigger for an email sent to add to a sheet.
Yeah, I'm creating a row each time a new email is sent with that title. I'm just testing something here. Just testing to see how it works. But so far, I'm not... Why do I keep saying relady? I'm not able to find either of the docs. So the way that it updates its filters is not the greatest. It's some form of slow API refresh. And it's possible that this is a Google interaction problem. But I definitely did send that email. And I definitely did create that document. But I can't find either document or email. So this is quite honestly a bit of a poor start. I'm going to give up on this. I'm going to try and find something that I already have existing. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this. And delete this trigger. I'm going to start over.
Second time's a charm. Let's do this.
Yeah. So in this case, I'm gonna, let's see here. What do we have? Let's do something with Notion. Database changed. Okay. We're gonna connect to Notion. I'm gonna go to the Upstory Notion. Select pages. I'm gonna say if our Bolty allow access. All right, let's find a database here. Oh boy, we have a database in Bolty,
We do?
don't we?
I don't know. Let's see. I don't think so.
Don't we have one for the tasks?
Design, multi-task list.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
Oh, here we go. It found it. It took a second, but it found it. Okay, we're gonna go to tasks.
Oh, okay. There needs to be some sort of loading thing for sure.
Yeah, yeah. The states
If
are
anyone
not
else
great.
would have just like exited out, just try to reload it a
Mhm.
couple times.
Yeah, you know, like if these guys were the first, if they were around before Zapier, people would give them maybe a little bit of time. But because of Zapier and Make.com, because those other options exist, it's going to be hard for them to be taken seriously. So these little like, oh, it took me a few minutes for this to load.
Yeah,
It's not
it's
great.
it's a micro interaction, but it's kind of everything you need to get down right. Otherwise, even if it's like just a few seconds, it kind of feels like slow and not snappy.
Yep.
And if it takes just long enough, even like maybe 4 seconds, it'll feel like, oh, it's not working, and I'm just gonna close it.
Yep.
Like by now, I would have already deleted my account.
Yeah, no, it's fair. Okay, so I got this here set up. I got this, and another thing that I think they took a different route on here is it looks like it's auto saving everything here, whereas I think Zapier kind of requires you to save steps. And I got a little stuck again here on the trigger output. There's just like, I don't know what this entitled thing is. Here are recent examples of when it would have run. Okay, here's an example, I guess. Closed, responsible. Okay. There's no title on that doc. That's why. Okay, it's so confusing. So it's just showing me an example, but it didn't allow me to go save. And so I feel like, oh, I guess I have to add step, but it wasn't super clear to me that that was what I needed to do next.
Feels weird, huh? Like you're operating on one side and then operating on the other side and have to go back to the other side.
Yeah, it is a little odd. Okay, so then now I'm going to do something super simple. I'm going to do when something changes, send me an email. To Rick. I'm going to send it to myself. Task completed. And I'm hoping data. Okay, here we go. So I'll go title. Oh man, it's not letting me really. It's kind of a weird. It's not letting me kind of work around it. When I get to this character, like I can't move my arrow keys. It's not doing anything.
Oh.
Has been marked as data tasks closed. So open or closed. And then I can't use my arrow keys to put a period at the end of this. I'm really struggling here, to be completely honest. And I don't, in a lot of these apps that we've done, like, I really want them to succeed. I really want it, but if I'm going to compete against a Zapier, it's got to be better than this.
How much of this is like dev versus design?
I think it's both.
Yeah.
Like, both sides have responsibility to make sure that this experience is pretty good. But maybe they don't expect you to have a period after or something.
Yeah. Autofill generate. So the AI is... What are we generating here? Hit done. But it doesn't make it clear what we're generating. This to me is like they just decided to tack on AI. Like everyone tacks on AI to products, but it doesn't feel like a thoughtful inclusion of what is this supposed to generate.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and save it. Which
Auto
again,
save.
it's auto-saving. So I don't know. I think it's already saved. Alright, automated completed successfully. Send time. Snippet. Task completed. Let's see what that email looks like. Hang on 1 second. Alright, here we go. So, untitled email notification has been marked as no. Is that what I said? Oh yeah, this is what it... Oh, the generate decided to call this email notification,
Yeah.
which doesn't really make any sense. This generate is a little confusing. We've got a bit of a... just a functionally, this may have been designed right, but functionally it doesn't operate the way you want it to operate. And so you can't really move your mouse around here. Like, this is a QA issue. Okay, so we got something working. I'm going to hit save. Now it says it's running hourly. Let's go to my playbooks, my dashboard, I guess.
See what they got.
Here we go. Here's my first playbook. It's never been run. Daniel, go change something in tasks.
It looks a little different. Alright. I'm adding a new task.
Oh, sorry. Actually, just mark something. Add a new task and then mark it as closed.
Okay. Task mark as closed. Status. To do. Hold on. How do I mark it as closed?
Open the task. I think you have to go to like more options.
Okay, I see. Oh, there it is. Closed. Cool.
Sweet. All right, now I'm going to check it. It says last run. Last check
Should be there.
238. So I guess the question is, does it, if I refresh it here, does it run it again, or does it still only run every hour?
Yeah.
View runs. Run triggered at 2:38. Started for a change database page. Sent email to... Okay, run is complete. All right, let me just see. Let me go to my inbox again. All right, we got something here. New task marked as closed has been marked as no. Oh, to
Right.
mark as closed. New task to mark as closed has been marked as
Okay,
no.
okay.
Okay, I see. Okay. All right, so it did what we needed it to do. But if I'm being honest, I could have done this in Zapier or Make in 10% of the time.
Yeah, I think the path to get in there was pretty tough.
So how do they do it? How do they compete? And win users from Zapier Make?
You know, I think their strategy of like going after more freemium users is probably going to give them some market share. But they can't come in and be a cheap alternative that is a lot harder to use. That's not going to work. And I don't know how long this relay has been around, but it feels to me like it's still pretty rough around the edges. And it feels to me like there's a lot of QA that needs to be done and a lot of onboarding that needs to be resolved. And for me, let's bring it home. I think Daniel, you probably can, you probably have some good thoughts. But in my opinion, the first thing they need to focus on is that first experience, that initial experience for a user. So let's bring it home with some ideas for them on what they could start with.
Yeah.
Coming back to, as we always do, what are their KPIs? What
Mhm.
are they trying to accomplish as a business? And how can we kind of give them some potential feedback, some potential ideas to maybe move in that direction?
Yeah. Um, well, if I consider this really to be, when did they receive their seed funding, Nash?
Keep going. Let me see if I can get that for you.
My train of thought is if they're early stage startup, they probably, I mean, visually this app looks great. I think
Yeah.
it looks really solid, but in terms of maybe execution, definitely space to be a room for improvement. I'm trying to think what's the lowest hanging fruit for Relay to get a user through their first playbook, and ultimately like staying on the platform for more than I don't know, we'll say like 2 weeks or a month. Um, I think their first KPI is pretty much signups, and then the second is like how many playbooks, number of playbooks created, or number of triggers um, performed. Those are probably like top three, and I think the lowest hanging fruit to accomplish that would be um, keeping. Okay, cool. Thanks, Nish. It's pretty recent.
So
October
October,
20.
a couple
Yeah,
months
pretty
ago. Yeah,
recent.
yeah.
So makes sense. I mean, the app's pretty polished for October 2023 visually, but to get back to what I was saying, lowest hanging fruit I think would be to keep the current experience, um, but really walk a user through a common use case that they might go through. One, to get your triggers going, to get the playbook going, triggers going. So you have those two KPIs, like almost force function when a user pops on. But I think a longer issue or a longer term thing would be to really rethink how a user might go through the steps to make it more easier to do it themselves or have a lower learning curve um, than what's currently being offered because you kind of have to know your way around pretty good in order to get to do this relatively easily. Like Rick, I think you're pretty familiar with like Zapier and Make from before, so you're able to like kind of understand what's happening and putting those in. And maybe people coming out are that, but then if you're going for the freemium, the free user and all that, especially like business owners who don't have that much time to like really figure all this stuff out, um, I think it's going to be added stress to them, and they're not going to be too happy about it.
Yeah, I think you're right. And to put it even maybe a more fine point on it is, to me, probably the most important metric that they're looking at beyond the obvious of just like number of signups is going to be day zero retention, like
Mm-hmm.
keeping people around rather than just kicking the tires and going away. And
Yeah.
we actually just are finishing up a project for a web browser where we're working on the day zero retention, and our hope is to it's a low change. In this specific one, it's like the goal is to make it 10% better. Honestly, I think we're going to make it 50% better with this small change in kind of how they educate their users during the onboarding experience. But I think there's a similar thing here, which is we talked about it right away. There's this new playbook button. Nobody knows what a playbook is, and they didn't explain what a playbook was. You kind of have to infer. Okay, I've used Zapier. I know what a zap is because Zapier showed me what a zap is. But new playbook, more of your smarter users probably will figure that out, and your smarter users will figure out that there's no separation between a trigger, a filter, and an action. But I do think that having a more guided process of that first user coming in and saying, hey, here's a playbook. A playbook is a set of rules that defines a connection. And
Mm-hmm.
here is the first thing you need to do is you need to define a trigger. Are you looking to define a trigger right now? And probably 80% of people are. Yes. Great. What are you trying to connect with? You select that option.
Yeah.
Okay, great. What are you trying to do with it? and again, kind of guiding them a little bit more as they're going through each of those processes. I think right now it's kind of just dropping you in and not giving you this guided experience.
Yeah. I would also say, if you really wanted to push the needle, like instead of doing the same thing that Zapier does in terms of like user experience, obviously I think this is pretty hard being an early stage company, but maybe on the opposite end, since it is pretty new, you can kind of explore and try to push the needle. But even like a different UX on like you can drag one trigger over to the next, like drag it to a filter, like have a different experience on connect or on creating a playbook compared to Zapier would really set this company apart from all the other ones. And it might make more sense for like visual people to like click one thing and drag it to something else.
Yeah.
Versus like having to find it and drop down and like figuring out what this means and then etc. I think that experience makes a lot more sense to me than having to like connect it to something and then know that I need to connect to this to connect to that and then click the add step button for the next step.
Yeah. Are you talking like a node editor?
Yeah, kind of like nodes. You kind of like have something and then this node does this. You add a new node. What does this node do to filter? So you add it to the filter and then the next one, what does this node do? It's a connection to a different app.
Yeah.
And log into that. So each thing has its own set things. So you can really follow along. Makes it a lot easier to see what's going on.
Right. Yeah, Stack AI. I think about Stack AI, which I know you used
exactly.
a bunch. Like they do that sort of thing. Is it Stack.ai? Yeah, I think so. Oh no, this is not it. Let's see. Here we go. So they're kind of a no-code AI platform, but they kind of use this whole node editor, model here, where you do something in a node and then attach it to another node. I think there could be something interesting there. And I noticed even when I went in here, it looks like even Zapier is starting to kind of go in that direction, or they're trying to make it look like a node editor when really it isn't. It's just it's just a trigger, a filter, and an action. But there's something to that where I think people can inherently understand that concept, and yeah, that could be interesting. The other thing I was going to say is another opportunity they have is in the AI world of like helping you define what sort of actions and connections you want to make and helping you actually make those connections.
Oh, that's super sick.
Right?
Yeah.
What I feel like they've done is they've taken AI and they're like, well, we have to have AI in our platform. And so let's use AI to write some text on the summary.
Yeah.
But that's table stakes. That's the obvious kind of what everyone can do with AI. But if you could take AI, and this requires more than just the team saying, "Hey, let's connect with OpenAI and have them do something." This requires them actually working with like an AI scientist, like Bryce, and saying, "Hey, what are the opportunities here for us to smartly help you integrate your tools, where you don't have to do as much?" And see, that to me, that starts to create the potential that they could have a moat, something that Zapier doesn't have.
That's super cool. I think bringing it back down to earth, where I feel like something they can execute within the month is like even something I feel like it's pretty low lift, but then use AI or basically the sign up, the free users. This would be great for free users. Basically, sign up and then they input their like daily flow, like their day-to-day activities, and then Relay through AI can recommend, hey, these are your top automations for your day or something. And then we don't have to create it just because like obviously that's a lot of work, especially in terms of AI stuff. But you can at least tell the user like, hey, like this is what we can do for you, based off your day to day. These are automations we can do for you, and this is how you can do it.
Yeah. No, that ties into the onboarding too, where you could have this kind of set of, here are the tools I use on a daily basis. Here's the type of user I am. Like I'm a product designer.
Yeah.
And I use Figma and Slack and Notion and Gmail and Apple Calendar. Like it probably can infer.
Dope.
Yeah, it can probably infer some great interactions between some of those.
Yeah.
that you might not have already thought of. And it could be, like you said, that sort of thing could be a fairly low lift.
Yeah. And then now you have some pretty good direction on what my first playbook should be versus like, what should my first playbook be? I don't know.
Right.
Like, it's, something like not useful that doesn't keep me on.
Yeah. And I'm curious what percentage of their users come in with kind of knowing what they're trying to integrate versus, hey, I'm kicking the tires. I'm trying to see, what no code tools I can use to connect all my things. I would guess probably a really high percentage of their users coming in are ones that were looking for Zapier, and they they advertised to get them to Relay, and they knew what they were trying to connect. Make.com, I don't know how well Zapier does it, but I know Make.com has always been huge on SEO, where it's like if you do a Google search for connect X to Y, they're always trying to be up there we're the ones that can connect X to Y. And I'm sure Relay has thought about that sort of thing. But so now bringing it back home again is we have a few different things. In my mind, there are a few different things that Relay could do to immediately make some headway. One would be the simple, like, hey, the onboarding, it needs to help hold your hand better. In a very simple form, it's explaining what the app is, explaining what the steps are, and kind of helping you walk through each of those steps and explaining, maybe to some extent even explaining how it's different than Zapier. I don't think you got to call them out, but like, hey, we don't have triggers and we don't separate these things. Maybe I'm getting stuck on that. But the second thing, as we mentioned, is like harnessing AI in more than just like their website even says like they're an AI platform, but when you really look at it, it's like, oh, we use AI to write summaries. So at least that's what I saw. And so harnessing AI, the short term could be to help. Hey, here are the tools that I use, which they even asked that question already. Here are my demographics. Here's what I am. Now I can kind of use AI to suggest some potential first places to start. And even long term, and this is more the bigger lift, would be using AI to actually help you make those connections and help create those connections.
It's a great summary.
Awesome. Well, this is really cool. I mean, Daniel, you said it before. I think from a visual standpoint, they've got a great app. I like visually, it's clean. If I was going to nitpick a little bit, I'd say there's maybe some of the padding on stuff is a little bit light. It could be it's a little cramped in some areas, like the buttons feel a little small and tight. But as a general rule, I think visually it's clean, it's nice. In fact, quite honestly, I really dislike the visual style of Zapier. I know it's kind of like a little bit down that brutalist route, maybe not all the way, but like in that maybe neo-brutalist area, and it's like, it's just visually, I don't like this. And so I like the feel of this better. It feels more comfortable. It feels more like a tool I want to use on a daily basis. And so they could take advantage of that. So now the next step for me to them is, can we make that initial experience a little better? And I think the answer is yeah, we definitely can.
For sure. And to kind of just build on your point, I think Zapier probably already has such a huge market share. And everybody using Zapier has probably a lot of stuff in Zapier already. So moving from there to another platform is huge cost to like change your automation. So I think for really, it'll be actually a great idea to tackle everyone else who's trying to make a new Zap, or not sorry, not Zap. Everyone's trying to make a new automation. And to your point, Rick, having a really good onboarding and making it really simple, like, hey, we're 10 times easier than Zapier. All you gotta do is connect a couple boxes and you're good to go.
Yeah.
Make your life 10 times easier in 1 minute or less, or something like that. Like that'd be a great slogan or something, or like 10 seconds or less. Like, it's making it really easy for a new person to come on and make their life easier.
Yeah, it'd be interesting actually if they're, for the users that are already on Zapier, and I didn't see it in the app, but if there was a way to actually connect their Zaps and like, hey,
Mm.
log into Zapier, see all your zaps, and at least create a, do our best job of creating a template to copy all of that they have in another platform.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah. Awesome.
All
Well,
right.
hey, thanks everyone for watching. Appreciate your time. We do these videos about once a week, just looking at various apps, as I said, that we run across on a daily or weekly basis, and provide hopefully some insightful feedback, something that can be, our goal is to provide feedback that could actually be executed within the next month or so. And I think some of what we provided today could potentially be executed on that time frame. So yeah, hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, guys. Peace.